What's interesting from a sort of a spiritual mindset perspective is like, if I look at it like a pyramid of like self-actualization, right? The base is we are energy creation machines. That's what we do. All of our cells create energy, and that's how we function. Depressed and anxious subjects in clinical studies, they make 20% less ATP, less energy. Depression is a low energy problem. Anxiety is a low energy problem. Obesity is a low energy problem. We're told it's a too much energy problem. Calories and calories. It's a low energy problem. Everyone is in such a low energy state. They wake up in the morning, they hate what they see in the mirror, and they're like, oh, whatever. I'll just grab a bagel and a Dunkin' Donuts caramel macchiato, whatever, and I'll get in traffic and drive to this job that I hate where nobody respects me. And you're sitting there like, how do you expect your life to look the way that you want it to live when you're making these choices? But it's this vicious cycle. It's like chicken or the egg. Well, you hate the way your body looks. You hate the way you feel when you wake up. So why not just go to a place you hate? Everything else sucks anyway, right? And it's this like kind of spiraling thing. So I use it as a Trojan horse because when I could get people to just remove poison, then all of a sudden the conversation shifted, right? It's like someone will come to me day one, like, I hate my body. I need to lose 20 pounds in the next 7 days or everything will suck, you know? And it's just like terrible. They just couldn't get past like fat versus skinny. And I would explain to people all of the health and wellness problems you have, all of them, every single one, is just a result of your body not having had a long enough period of time without being poisoned. We have been poisoned since we were little babies, right? Medicine, baby formula, everything. So what ends up happening if you give me just 30 days, and we get on a coaching call day 1 and the coaching call day 31, and you have not taken in any poison, the questions are different, man. It's
a different person.
It's a different person. We have peeled away layers of the onion in programming, and all of a sudden they're like, man, they want to talk to me about, communication in their romantic relationship. Or, you know what? It's so interesting. I realized I had like a lot of toxic stuff in my diet and I cleaned it up. And then I was at work and I was like, man, these people don't treat me very well. Like my superior is kind of a dick, and it's crazy. It's like we were saying earlier, I didn't know in the past that I was creating my own reality. I didn't really understand that. I was just on autopilot. These people are so on autopilot, they get their cells functioning better and they start asking better questions and they start analyzing their life as a whole. And I have this video called The Clovis Philosophy where I help them connect every aspect of their life, like health, wealth, relationships, community, everything. And it all plays together in this big giant puzzle that you have to put together for like holistic health. And that was it, man. Like get the poison out of their systems, their questions start to change. And all of a sudden I had people in the Clovis Academy, the Facebook group, that are driving across state lines to meet their friends that they met in the group. And people quitting their jobs and starting their own business. We have a bunch of multi-million-dollar businesses that were started from people listening to my podcast. They quit their job, they start an Amazon company like I did with the paleo powder, and they start making money. And it's like, that's when I realized I was like, oh, I teach freedom. I don't teach weight loss. But so many people are trapped in the obsession with body image and weight loss that when they're like, hey, I really need to lose weight. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I got you. Come on in. The water's fine, right? And then 90 days later, it's like, what else do you want to work on? Let's move into the more important shit,
Dude, I resonate so much with what you're saying, just particularly in terms of just the veil that gets lifted once you start eating properly. I've had a few different stints with just, I think like early on playing baseball, I was very serious about performance, but mostly in the context of being in the gym. And so I wasn't eating entirely I wasn't eating perfectly. And that showed up in a lot of different ways. Like in high school, I was just eating the lunch, like all the stuff that they put out for lunch, pizza, chips, subs, like all of it. Yeah. And I was just hammering it in the weight room. So it didn't show up anywhere other than like I had bad skin issues. And then I get to college and continuing to go down the rabbit holes of how do I perform better, working out in the gym really well, and then started doing a paleo diet. That was like a complete aha moment for me where I was like, oh my gosh, if I fuel this meat machinery that I have properly, I just think so much better. Yeah. And then I kind of like downshifted back into corporate job, slowed down, slower energy state, basically all the things that you're talking about. And when COVID hit, it was kind of that paradigm shifting moment for me. Started just really prioritizing my health again in a way that I really hadn't been in the last handful of years, and got on a keto diet. And within a month, like the amount of progress I had made from just a physical, spiritual, mental standpoint was incredible. I was sleeping more. My body was the best that it's felt in a long, long time. And I was having these just incredible thoughts and beliefs that like, okay, I'm going to get out of this job. I'm going to figure out what's next, what my purpose is here. Like that was a catalyst moment for me. My whole life was tapping into like 30 days of eating well.
Yeah.
You know,
it's that quick, man.
It's that quick. Yeah.
And it's so funny because people will come to me and they're upset about how long it takes to get healthy, you know, to truly get healthy, right? Because like if you're 300 pounds and you want to look like, we were joking about our buddy Kyle Kingsbury, and you want to look like Kyle Kingsbury, like you're probably on a 10-year journey to go from 300 pounds to Kyle Kingsbury, right? But you can go from 300 pounds to 180 pounds in a year, year and a half, 2 years, right?
Totally.
And your entire life will transform. And it feels like this thing, oh, it takes so long. You're like, dude, 30 days of truly cleaning up the diet is transformative. And when you think about the fact, most people don't come to me till they're over the age of 35, that you can feel better after 35 years of poison in 30 days? This is like a gift from the universe, man. And it's a cheat code. It's literally a cheat code. It feels like Super Mario Brothers. Like you ate the mushroom and you grow and you're more powerful. But it's like a 30-day reset can be transformative for your whole life.
So how do you think about everything that you've done in the context of all the work that you've put out there, the lives that you've transformed, and now we have this Maha movement come along?
Yeah.
It's like the most exciting time to be in health and wellness, I think.
It's incredible. There's never, I mean, it's one of those reality creation things where I'm like, did I make this happen? Did I do this?
Dude, you played a huge part in it.
Yeah, I think so, right? And I don't mean that from obviously I'm not the guy behind Casey and Callie Means, and RFK has been doing this for 40 years, man. He's been going after everybody poisoning civilians for 40 years. People have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's if you believe in something like the collective consciousness or whatever you want to call it, right? Is like, yeah, more people are waking up and a groundswell happens and it starts to push. Like, you know, I told you this, and sparing names, I recorded a podcast in this room 2 years ago that got pulled down off YouTube because too much hate was coming at it. And literally all I was saying is like, maybe eat foods that exist in nature and get some sunshine and get good quality sleep and don't eat poison. And it was like the most controversial thing. And we got attacked ruthlessly, and that creator was having nasty DMs sent to him and all this stuff. And there has to come a tipping point has to happen where that sort of hate isn't happening anymore, right? And now we have, on a national and global level, conversations about seed oils and toxic ingredients in food and everything. I could not be more excited about it, man. It's amazing. And when I started seeing people like Rogan and Chris Williamson, like having Callie and Casey Means on, and I'm like, man, this is epic. This is like truly a society-changing shift.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
I feel like we're all standing on the shoulders of giants, but it's been a lot of big and small contributions from a lot of people who are just like, I'm going to make this my life's purpose. Like I heard you were on a podcast. I forget the name of the gentleman, but I was watching the YouTube video, and he was saying, you know, this is my God-given purpose to be talking about this stuff. And he had a medical background. It was super cool hearing him say that. And I do feel like there's a lot of people, like I think of Mark Sisson and just like all the work that he's been doing, and Rob. I mean, he's taken so much heat and flack for some of the stances that he's made. And it does feel like we're entering this period where now these people are going to start to be acknowledged for a lot of the work that they've been doing and a lot of the sacrifices they've made. But it's hard not to just be optimistic.
Yeah. I heard somebody talk about this the other day, because I think about this with Rob. Like I'm looking at your Element drink, right? And like Rob has now absolutely crushed as an entrepreneur. He's doing very well. He doesn't have to get on the internet and help you change your life. He wants to. RFK doesn't have to do what he's doing. He wants to, you know? So it really is this thing where people are so passionate and they're so driven about this thing that they're doing, and it's so meaningful for them. And that's the thing, is I think people can feel that energy, the Mark Sissons and the Rob Wolfs of the world and everything, where it's just like, man, Rob's been doing this for 20 plus years, man. I don't even know how long he's been doing it. Mark Sisson with like Mark's Daily Apple, his first thing he did. I talked to Abel James about it. His first thing was, man, I forget. Honest Abe. He had a blog called Honest Abe before he did Fat Burning Man. And so like people are really passionate about spreading this message. And I think that it's like, the difference here, and I always get into trouble when I start talking about credentials, but the guy that I was talking with is Justin Rothlingshofer. Yes. I always struggle with his last name, Justin Rothlingshofer, and he owns Own It Health. And we had this great conversation where like he's got a master's degree and he was going for his PhD and everything, and like actually left the PhD program when he was close to getting it because he's like, this is nonsense. And now he has this team of registered dietitians and MDs that he calls the misfits of academia that were like, this is not right. We know this isn't right, right? So people that are like passionate enough to come at this from a place of care, which is where the podcast that I had that got pulled down and all that stuff is people that are fully bought into the dogma of mainstream academia, the medical system, not realizing their textbooks are funded by pharmaceutical companies and that kind of thing. And they're just like, you sit down and shut up because I'm a PhD and you're not, right? And the number of people that have come through Clovis that have been gaslit and drugged to death by every doctor they've ever gone to. And they don't feel heard. They don't feel understood. They feel like nobody's listening to them. Everyone's calling them liars and gaslighting them. I had a client once through those in her 50s. She held a master's degree in nutrition and like nutrition sciences or whatever, and could never lose weight. For 30 years was obese. And she's like, I can't figure this out. She's like, the number of like 25-year-old shirtless Planet Fitness trainers who have told me I don't track calories properly. It's just this constant gaslighting. You can feel the energy is different, right? It's like there are all these people out in the world that are like, sit down with me. Let's have a conversation. I used to do this on my podcast. I have 90-minute long conversations with clients, people who have never been on a podcast or in front of a camera in their lives that lost 100 plus pounds. And I'm like, it's going to be a very gentle conversation. Don't worry. We're going to get on. We're going to talk like friends. Can you just tell people what you've been through? And it was amazing. It was like super powerful content of these people just sharing their journey. And when I asked them, like, what drew you to Clovis? Like, you're the first person that told me I've been lied to. And that this is not entirely my fault and that I don't lack willpower and I'm just a lazy slob that can't get their shit together. Like, you're the first person who felt like you were fighting for me, fighting with me, rather than talking at me. Of like, listen, I'm a PhD and I'm telling you it's calories in, calories out. You're saying you're eating 900 calories a day and you're still fat. You are a liar. So how about you get your shit together? Nobody wants to be helped, quote unquote, in that energy.
In that way.
You know, that's really what I love right now is it really feels like society has people that are fighting on their behalf. And that's magic.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's amazing seeing people's belief system shift. Like that's really what's happening in that instance, going from the credentialed PhD who's just giving you blanket advice and kind of almost keeping you trapped in a limiting belief. Whereas you're like, let's shift this framework that you're looking at this problem through and empower you to make these changes. And I think at the end of the day, like I would love to get your take on calories in, calories out and why you like the reason why you think that model, it just shouldn't be as prevalent as it is.
Sure. I mean, one, I think the biggest problem in health and wellness right now is the illusion of authority. And I think that that's true in every aspect of everything, right? Like there's a great book on this called Weapons of Mass Instruction that is about how the public school system was literally designed to, I guess the word would be infantilize adults. It was trying to keep people young, the infant mind, as long as humanly possible. So you can then move them into factory work and all this stuff. You're literally stunting their maturity. You know, it's like founding fathers, whatever. We had 12-year-olds that are sailing ships to different countries and fighting wars and stuff. Literally. You know, it's like, and now it's just like we got 28-year-olds like vaping and addicted to porn in their mom's basement.
Playing
like,
Xbox.
Exactly, and we're trying to fix that, right? But the calories in, calories out thing, this happens all the time where like we'll make videos about how it's not about calories, it's about nutrient density, micronutrients, whatever, and everyone's just like, thermodynamics, right? And they throw this thermodynamics term out there. Nothing, calories in, calories out on its face is technically true in some ways,
right?
Where it's like thermodynamics is real, right? Like if you don't have enough energy in the system, the system, the human body, which is like an open energy system, is going to conserve energy in some way, shape, or form. The best way for it to do that is actually to store body fat. It actually makes more sense for the system to attack its own lean tissue than it does to tap into those body fat stores for a number of reasons. One, because fat is the most energy dense. So if we're trying to store energy for later, it makes sense to store something that's 9 calories per gram instead of 4, less than half, right? And then also our fat cells are storing toxins. So a fast way, you know, lipids are hydrophobic. So to pull toxins out of the system, our bodies will store toxins in fat cells. So there's a number of reasons why storing fat is incredibly beneficial, right? I always try to help clients shift this. We flip it on its head. Your body's not doing anything wrong when you're getting fat. Oh my God, I'm so fat. It's like, yeah, because your body is trying to protect you. It's trying to adapt to an unnatural environment that you've placed it in, right? So what happens when obese people come to any trainer, nutritionist, whatever? Is, I feel cold all the time. My hair's thinning and falling out. I have no libido. I'm in a bad mood. I'm depressed and I'm anxious and I have no energy to get out of bed in the morning, right? Does that sound like a too much energy problem? No, of course not. They're all coming to us with low energy symptoms. And it's because of the idea of energy balance, energy in, energy out, is actually potential energy in and actual energy out. Like if you have a car that's full of gasoline and no spark plugs, there's no energy in that car. There's potential energy. There's a full gas tank of potential energy. But you need a catalyst for the energy to be created. We need a catalyst at the level of the entire, like going from glycolysis and beta oxidation through the Krebs cycle into the electron transport chain to actually generate ATP in the body. We need all these little steps all along the way that all include micronutrients, right? So the shift away from nutrients and onto calories is very detrimental, because if someone's metabolism is completely dysfunctional and you start feeding them 1,000 calories a day, this is where you end up, what we now have an epidemic of, is where you end up with sarcopenic obesity, which are people that are clinically obese, which is just a clinical term for at least 30 pounds or more overweight, and they have osteoporosis. Like their bones are brittle. And you're going to feed that person 1,200 calories a day, 1,000 calories a day, right? The problem is only going to get worse. And then they're going to get old, they're going to fall down and break their hip and die on their kitchen floor. It's insane, man. Like, so I'm trying to help people see when they say this, like, oh, bro, they'll leave these troll comments, bro forgot about thermodynamics. It's like, no, I'm well aware of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
Your comment is displaying your ignorance of thermodynamics. Because yes, if we don't have enough calories for the body to do what it needs to do, it's going to strip tissue to make up the energy difference. You cannot guarantee that that is coming from body fat, which is why you have all these bros, the gym bros, that are 21 years old or 25 years old or whatever, and they have time. They're in the gym 6 days a week and they're eating, white rice and chicken every day. And yes, their body is going, holy shit, this guy is lifting a ton of weights for 90 minutes a day. We need to preserve this muscle mass. And we're going to pull from other things. So they start to burn body fat and all these things. It works for them. And they're like, look, thermodynamics, right? With me, I've experimented myself so much that I understand when I strip down to 8% body fat, my testosterone's 250. I'm 14% body fat right now, and I'm 38 years old on 0 supplements, and my testosterone's 850, which is amazing for my age, right? It's so simple, man. Like, it's so crazy for us to tell people who are in a low energy state to consume less energy. And the entire complexity and the madness of it and the people of like, oh my God, my calories, this, it all goes away if you just don't eat poison.
Yeah.
You can go eat 2,500 calories a day as a woman of real nutrient-dense whole foods. And what's going to happen? Your metabolic rate is going to skyrocket. So one of the first things I have clients do is we take their morning temperature before they've even rolled out of bed. Some women come to me, their core body temperature in the morning is 94 degrees. This is a walking corpse, brother.
Jeez.
You need energy to function. We have to kill this idea of calories in, calories out. And I don't care, man, when somebody comes to me and they're like, look at me, I have a six-pack, right? I have a term for it now. I call it infertile six-packs.
I love that.
The number of men running around that are giving advice online, follow me to be healthy, and they're completely bald because they don't know that bald is a hypothyroid state.
They're probably on TRT or something.
They're on TRT. They're on peptides. They're doing a cold plunge every morning. They're doing intermittent fat, right? It's like they have the freedom. It's like, yeah, go tell. I had a woman named Shannon. I have a video testimony for her, and she's like, scream my stuff from the rooftops, tell everybody about it. She was homeschooling 8 kids when she came to me. She lost over 100 pounds with me. Do you know how many times she went to the gym? 0. Did not step foot in a gym. Lost over 100 pounds while homeschooling 8 kids.
Wow.
So Mr. 25-year-old bro with a six-pack that's, working at Planet Fitness for $40 an hour, he doesn't get to tell Shannon, just do what I do.
Yeah.
No, you can fuck right off. Move along, So I know these people leave these comments like that. They're not working with real people, with real lives, with responsibilities, people who depend on them, jobs that they work, homeschooling 8 kids, whatever. So it's very disheartening for these people. They're getting yelled at by these humans with like quite unnatural bodies, you know, that are just like, I'm shredded, listen to me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like you have authority because you're able to portray yourself in a certain way because you're young, your body reacts well to all the different stimulus that you're giving it. And, for the average person who's just looking for actual health advice, the calories in, calories out model I think you phrased it perfectly and framed that really well, where it's like you're you are not getting the amount of nutrients that you need to have energy and be healthy and support all of the, your hormonal balance, your energy levels, all of it.
Yeah.
And it's coming at a cost. I think you can think that you'll lose that weight, but by just cutting calories. But at the end of the day, you're looking at this narrow lens of your health when it's a much broader picture. There's much a broader scope there.
Yeah. Here's the most important thing, right? And this is like when we get into credentials and everything. I always joke and I say my credentials are that there are Clovis tattoos. So when people start tattooing your brand on them because you changed their lives, we can talk about your credentials.